A very good morning, class. Today I have come up with the explanation of the poem A Tiger in the Zoo by Leslie Norris. This poem is a reflection of a tiger's thought during his captivity in the zoo. Through the poem, a lot can be understood about the feelings of the captive tiger when he is not in his natural habitat. The poet refers to his strength being put behind bars. The poem contrasts a tiger in the zoo with the tiger in its natural habitat. The poem moves from zoo to the jungle and back again to the zoo. The poet wants to depict the difference between the two environments. Now, moving on with the introduction of the poem A Tiger in the Zoo. The poem is written by Leslie Norris and explains the agony and helplessness of a caged tiger that lives in a zoo. The poet imagines what his life could have been if he had been a free animal. The poet has tried to explain about the condition of animals that are caged by human beings for their own fun. Now, to understand the poem better, let's look into the first stanza. He stalks in his vivid stripes the few steps of his cage, on pads of velvet quiet, in his quiet rage. The poem begins with a description of a tiger that is very beautiful and is walking in his little cage. He has beautiful stripes on his skin and has velvet like soft paws. The poet further says that the tiger can take only a few steps because the cage is small and it is not easy to move in it. One cannot hear his footsteps because he has very soft feet, like velvet, because of which there is no sound of the tiger's footsteps. The tiger tries to control his anger by quietly walking in the limited area of his cage. He is angry because he is not free. He should be lurking in shadow, sliding through long grass near the water hole where plump deer pass. The poet says that if this tiger was free, he would have hid himself behind the long grass near the water bodies so that he could easily catch a deer in order to have it as its food. Basically, the poet wants to say that the actual life of a tiger is to live in the jungle, where he could catch his prey and eat it, but the tiger in the cage cannot do so. He should be snarling around houses at the jungle's edge, baring his white fangs, his claws, terrorizing the village. The poet says that if the tiger would have been free, he would have snarled around the houses located in the outskirts of the forest. He would terrorize people with his sharp tooth and claws. This would create fear among the people living in the villages. But he's locked in a concrete cell, his strength behind bars, stalking the length of his cage, ignoring visitors. Now the poet compares to the reality of the tiger that is inside the cage. He says that the tiger is confined in a strong cell which is made of strong building material. He further says that as the tiger is behind bars, so his ferociousness is also behind the bars. He just talks in the cage. He never tries to terrorize the visitors because his power is restricted by the cage. Therefore, he never tries to terrorize the visitors as he cannot attack them. Now, in the last stanza, the poet says he hears the last voice at night, the patrolling cars, and stares with his brilliant eyes at the brilliant stars. The poet says that in the night, the tiger hears the sounds of the patrolling cars. Patrolling cars are the vehicle of police which are used to guard at night. So, in the night, the tiger hears the sound of these cars. He then stares at the shining stars with his shining eyes. The poet wants to say that the tiger is sad and he is confined in the cage, so he cannot do anything. Therefore, he stares at the stars in the night and tries to divert his thoughts towards them. The literary devices that are used in the poem are as follows. The first one is rhyme scheme. The rhyme scheme for the first, second, and fifth stanza is A, B, C, B, and for the third and fourth stanza is A, B, C, D. Next is onomatopoeia, which is using words which denote sound, for instance, snarling. Assonance is use of vowel sound, O and I, should, around, houses, barring, his, and white are some of the examples. Consonants, use of consonant sound, S, for instance, his, fangs, claws. Personification. The tiger is personified because the poet refers him as he. And the last one is alliteration. Alliteration is the repetition of a constant sound at the start of two or more closely placed words. For example, he stalks in his vivid stripes. The S sound. But he's locked in a concrete cell. C sound. So that was all about a tiger in the zoo. Thank you so much for watching the video.